Yeah, that was a video taken off of Twitter, and it shows the Biden Philadelphia kickoff campaign rally just a few minutes before Biden took the stage. And all I can say is thank God for social media because they reveal a brutal truth that the mainstream media refuses to do. And in this case, namely, is just how sparse the Biden campaign was. Now, I'm not a crowd expert, but I think somewhere, I would say barely 1,000, possibly more, or possibly even a little less than 1,000. And keep in mind, again, this was the Joe Biden campaign kickoff rally, even though Biden actually started campaigning about 3 weeks ago. It started in Pittsburgh. So why would this be called a kickoff campaign rally? And how does he get away with that? I mean, isn't this questioned in the mainstream media at all? My guess is that his campaign rally, starting with Pittsburgh and then going on, I showed you some videos on this, and in Iowa, were so sparse that his campaign now is like pretending like that. Oh, no, that wasn't really a campaign rallies. This is our first campaign. This is our kickoff campaign rally. This is what counts. Well, sorry, Joe Biden people, but if that's your kickoff campaign rally, that's also pretty pathetic. Now, keep in mind that crowd is salted with campaign workers because the Joe Biden campaign is headquartered in Philadelphia, and of course union members who are forced to be there, and that's all they have. So even though it's somewhere around 1,000, I'm pretty sure that actual real people, civilians that aren't campaign workers or union members forced to be there, is well under 1,000 people that are actually there. Now, of course, the mainstream media is avoiding that ugly truth of just how pathetically low Biden's campaign crowds are because they're trying to project the image of Joe Biden is like the inevitable front runner and the inevitable nominee. I'm going to show you in just a moment here. I'm going to show you some excerpts from the mainstream media where they either avoid or gloss over that pathetic crowd size. And I'm going to show you the same clip again at the end so you can put in the comments below what you think, how many actually showed up there. But it's really pretty pathetic. I mean, if just think about this. If Donald Trump at any point during the campaign or during his presidency had only that many people show up to a public event that he was speaking at, the headlines would roar about Trump losing it, with the crowds. But since this is Joe Biden, they just avoid that ugly truth. And again, I remind you, officially, this is his campaign kickoff rally, and that's all he got. So let's take a look at a few accounts from the mainstream media where they avoid or gloss over the brutal truth. Here's a report on the Joe Biden Philly rally from Saturday from Delaware Online, which it says here, as you can see, part of the USA Today network. And the Delaware, specifically, it's the Delaware News Journal. And they are not going to say themselves, maybe they're too embarrassed. We'll get rid of that. Maybe they're not going to say themselves because they're too embarrassed what the actual crowd size is. So what they did, here, you see here, it says according to organizers, about 6,000 people attended the rally. Really? 6,000 people, folks. You saw that panning the crowd with just before. Did that look like 6,000 people? Did that look like even 3,000 people? I think it's more like around 1,000, maybe, and definitely, real people. When you subtract the campaign workers and the union members forced to be there, we're talking under 1,000. And here at Politico, they go with the vague description of what the crowd size is. And this is from Saturday. Here it is. Biden flips between unity, blah, blah. You know what? Whatever he says, that's not the real story. Folks, the real story, by the way, I'm using folks a lot because I picked that up from Joe Biden. If you had a drink for a small, tiny bit of bourbon for every time Joe Biden said the word folks in any of his speeches before the speech was over, you'd be passed out dead drunk on the ground. But anyway, this is Politico, and they go with being vague, very vague. Here we go. They don't give you anything approaching specificity, but instead they say thousands of supporters showed up to hear the former vice president. Thousands. You know what? That thousands could actually mean 2,000, but again, I'm thinking it's much closer to 1,000. And again, as I say, subtract the campaign workers, subtract all the union members. There's probably a lot more of them than campaign workers, but the subtract the union worker members that have to be there, and almost for sure that crowd of normal people, of normal meaning civilians, not campaign workers, not union members, under 1,000. So finally, we're going to go to the Huffington Post, which just very typically, like much of the mainstream media, avoids it altogether. And finally, we're at the Huffington Post, or the Huff Post, as they like to call themselves lately. And their big headline on the story is Joe Biden slams divider-in-chief Trump in Philadelphia campaign kickoff, even though, as I pointed out before, the campaign actually started 3 weeks ago. I don't know, how do they get away with that? False advertising. But, and it's by Amy Russo. So Amy Russo covers it, except for the most important thing is how pathetically small the crowd was. I mean, again, this is supposed to be their official kickoff. You can look in her article and you see absolutely, check it for yourself at the Huffington Post, but you see absolutely nothing about crowd size here. Oh, look at this. Do you have any information you want to share with the Huff Post? Yes, I do. I want to share the information is, why wasn't your headline about incredibly small crowd shows up for Joe Biden's campaign kickoff? That's the information I want to share. And why didn't you even mention anything about the crowd size? I guess that was too embarrassing. Amy Russo's probably heard the official estimate from the Joe Biden campaign. It was 6,000, but she was too embarrassing to even quote that. She was too embarrassed to even quote that. So as we see, the media, the mainstream media, is avoiding the central fact of the Joe Biden campaign, is that the crowds are just not showing up in any big numbers to his campaign. And again, a reminder, this is supposed to have been his campaign kickoff, and it was a big flop as far as crowd size. And finally, I'm going to show you again that video where they pan the crowd. I got it off Twitter, and put your crowd estimate in the comments below. But there's nowhere near, like his campaign officially is saying there was 6,000 people there. That's pathetic. Not even close to what the truth is. So let's take a look again one more time.